Hi guys, it's Ebird Online here, and I'm here with another review from 90 Day Fiance. It's Season 7, Episode 2, and this is part 2 of my review. And so for this part I'm going to be covering Michael and Juliana and Robert and Annie. If you're new to my channel, hi there, come and join the family, and please don't forget to subscribe. Just click that red button for regular content and reviews. Please press the like button and don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. So this review is going to be a tale of two opposites. One of the gentlemen loves to splash the cash. He's overly generous, and some might say he purchases. And the other gentleman, well, he's so tight that George Washington blinks when he opens his wallet. So we're going to start out with Robert and Annie. So we meet up with Robert and he's going to meet his friend in a bar. His friend, Juan, is also from the Dominican Republic, and Juan has some concerns. He's worried that his friend Robert will be taken advantage of. Juan says, you have to be really careful with DR girls. All they think about is money and they're always on the make. And Robert counters this information by saying he needs a loving woman. I've only got 2 days until she comes here now. But Juan wasn't convinced. He said all they think about is dollars. They have money on the mind. And Juan asks him, what do you expect from this relationship? And Robert said, I just want to go out, have fun, be with my lady, and then I want her to be a mother, a loving mother to my son, so he can experience a nice, warm, motherly love. And Juan said, I really hope for your sake that it's true, but honestly, I really doubt it. You could have got a DR girl from America. You have to pay now to bring her to the US. And then he said, has she asked you for anything? Has she asked you for money? And at this point, I can see Robert trying to fudge the question, but he doesn't want to outright lie to his friend. And he very reluctantly said, well, she says she wants an iPhone when she gets here, but apart from that, she hasn't bothered me with anything. Michael, engagement ring, oh Michael, money. And Robert said, yeah, that's it. Juan shook his head and said, I'm not going to believe you, bro. Are you telling me you haven't sent her any money whatsoever? And then finally Robert said, well, she hasn't asked me for any money. I've sent her money. Well, that's the same damn thing, Robert. You know very well you wouldn't have sent her money unless she intimated she had none. So after he reluctantly admits that he has sent her money, he also then forgets to say that if the money isn't there on time, she sends him row after row of angry emojis. It's quite obvious to me that Robert is really upset with her being portrayed as a money grabber. However, you can also tell that he low-key thinks she is one as well, because he really doesn't want to tell Juan that he sent her money. If there's nothing in it, what's the big deal? And then he goes on to say, she doesn't ever ask for money, I just send it. Random. I think he means randomly. And he said it's not an every week thing, twice a week. And Juan said it matters not if she's asking for money, you're giving it to her anyway, and that's exactly what she wants. And you can tell in Juan's mind, it cemented his idea of her as a typical DR money grabber. And Robert tries to explain that he knows her really well, and he talks to her daily. And Juan said, yes, but you're still spending money. And Robert makes a very good point. He said, tell me a relationship where you don't spend money. And the truth be told, Robert, you got a point. However, I think the salient point that you need to remember is, when you stop spending money, if that person then leaves you immediately, or if that person finds somebody who can spend more money on her than you and she leaves you, that's going to be a problem. So yes, in relationships, men do usually have to spend money. But if the whole and sole motive for being with someone is just money, that's when it becomes a problem. So I guess what we need to ascertain is what's Annie's motive. Juan concluded their conversation by saying, I know these DR girls and it's all about the green card. Once she's got her green card, it's a done deal. And we've yet to meet Annie in the flesh, so I guess we'll have to decide when we see her. But then Juan has one last go with Robert and he tells him about a friend of his, and he was in exactly the same situation. He got a girl from DR, he brought her to the States, they got married, and then Juan tells Robert 6 months later she was gone. Interesting story. However, it would seem that she stayed for 90 days more than she needed to. Happy days, your friend got 90 days for free. See you on, that's what I do. I make lemons into lemonade. Robert says, I feel the energy that she gives me and I don't feel I'm being used at all. And Juan said, she's acting right now, she's got to do whatever she can do to get over to the US. Well, those acting lessons seem to have paid off, because the next time we see Robert, he's in the car with his son Bryson and is on the way to the airport. And as they're driving in the car, Robert tells us his dream is coming true. They arrive at the airport and Robert lets Bryson run very free. I can see Bryson's going to be a handful to look after. Bryson's just running round and round and he seems to have an awful lot of energy. And then, like a vision, Annie appears on the escalator and she's wearing a denim all-in-one jumpsuit. And she says that her family is everything to her and she lives with her dad and siblings, and her mother died 8 years ago. She said after her death she lost everything. She then goes on to say she wants to be an amazing mother and she wants to have a big family with Robert. The only downside, she tells us, is she has a fiery temper, but she's hardworking and she's a good person. And she says she's never had kids, but now she's got Bryson. And to be quite honest, she did look quite natural around him, and Bryson really seemed to take to her. She said she's always dreamed of living in the US, but she never imagined it would come true. And she's also dreaming of some naughty time with Robert. And when they arrive home, they put Bryson to bed. Where's Bryson's bed, I hear you ask? Bryson sleeps with his dad. And so Robert tells us that all three of them will sleep in the same bed. He said at some point he's going to get a small little bed for Bryson to sleep in. And this to me is a red flag. Robert, knowing that Annie was coming, you should have considered that Annie arriving would make Bryson feel as if he'd been shoved out of the bed for Annie. He's already dealing with feelings of rejection, and this might make it worse. And Bryson is now in full force. He's jumping up and down on the bed, and he's extremely boisterous. He tells us he wants to fight people, and he starts kicking his dad, and then he starts jumping on his head. And Annie asks Robert, is he always like this? And Robert said, yeah, he just never goes to sleep, he's got so much energy. And Annie tells us that she just wants to be alone tonight with Robert, and she also has a look in her eye which says, I want to discipline the hell out of Bryson. And to be fair, Annie, if I was there, I'd have the same look. I can see Bryson's going to be quite a bit of work for Annie. But is Robert expecting too much from her? I think he's expecting her to walk straight in and become a new mum. And that's always going to be a very difficult ask. And next up, we have Michael and Juliana. So we catch up with Michael buying Juliana some expensive jewellery, and he's getting her a specially made necklace. He says he doesn't know what his family will think about all the money he spends on her. I think you do, Michael. I think you do know what they think. And then he says he doesn't care. Again, Michael, yes you do. There's no fool like an old fool, and you're not that old, so things are just set to get worse. And then production try and discover just how much is spent on Juliana. 100k? He won't answer. 150k? He says he doesn't know. And it's strange that someone with his own business would have no idea about his spendings. And then he lets us in on a secret. She has his credit card, and sometimes she spends money on what he describes as questionable items. And apparently she's maxed out the card. Michael explains that he's given her the card so she can feed herself, get groceries, you know, that sort of thing, everyday things. And then he starts stuttering. She recently made a rather large purchase, and it was something that was not quite expected, and I'm not sure why. What did she buy, Michael? Was it a Chanel bag? Was it Louboutins? Diamond earrings? No, it wasn't. Juliana bought herself a car. Michael tells us this was an impulse buy. Impulse buy, Michael. A car. Why would she need to buy a car when her plans are to move to the US to be with you, to be with the one she loves? And more importantly, who was the car for? She doesn't look like the kind of girl who drives herself around. And Michael knows he's been taken for an absolute mug. Even the jeweller, who's listening in on the conversation, says, it could never be me, but if Michael likes it, I love it. Of course he does. Michael spends all his money with you, on Juliana. But Michael tells us he'd like her to respect the value of money and the value of working hard, and he hopes she'll change. Yeah, you're right, Michael. I'm sure she will. After all, there's nothing to buy out in the US, is there? If there's a time to change, it's when you move to America. Oh, Michael. You can tell by the look on his face, he's scared to stop spending in case she leaves him. And next time we catch up with Michael the mug, he's on his way to Brazil. And he explains to us that she was denied entry not once but twice for a holiday visa, so a K1 visa was the only way to get her in. But when he arrives in Brazil, he lets us know he's forgetting about the credit card spend. I'm not. Who was the car for? Another boyfriend? I think so. And when he arrives in Rio de Janeiro, she's already there. He gets to the hotel and she opens the door, and the truth be told, she is a vision of beauty. She's tall, she's thin, she has a sunshine smile. And I'll let you in on a secret. I was kind of hoping that she'd been catfishing a bit with her photos, and she was the kind of girl that Michael wouldn't look twice at in the schoolyard. But no, she really is the real deal. She's a very good looking girl. Michael tells her, you're so skinny. You seem to have lost weight since I last saw you. Of course she is. The credit card's maxed out with the car, so she couldn't buy the groceries. And they sit on the bed and they're chatting, and Michael says one of the most disgusting things I think I've heard on this franchise thus far. He looked at her and said, you're a poor Brazilian girl when I'm not here, and a rich American when I am. Michael, what kind of horrid crap is that to say to somebody? And Juliana was embarrassed herself. She said, come on boy, stop. And it's a statement the Ebird's not going to forget. If she gets her K1 visa, marries you, and then divorces you within 6 months, I won't care. And you're actually saying to her that she's worth nothing without you. Michael, I've got news for you. As long as she's got your credit card, she'll always be a rich American. and if she hasn't got yours with looks like hers, she'll get another. Alright. And then Juliana goes on to tell us that if she doesn't get the visa, she'll be so sad, as she really wants to go to America. Oh, and be with Michael. Yes, Juliana, I caught that. And then she said if I get denied, I don't know what I'll do. And the next time we see them, they're waking up in the hotel room. Michael, ask about the car. No, thought not. And then they get ready for the visa visit. She's been denied twice, so she's very nervous, and so is Michael. Michael explains that he thinks she's been denied because she's a young single girl from a poor part of Brazil and has a lot of stamps in her passport. It's probably all those fishing trips. And they get into the taxi to go to the consulate. And she tells us in the taxi that she's very positive and she knows this will change her life. And as we pull up outside the consulate, TLC let us know that cameras are not permitted in the consulate. Oh, TLC, you're nothing but a letdown. That's what body cams are for. And I really did expect more of TLC. They're really not the messy MFs they claim to be. We catch up with her when she's leaving the consulate. How did it go, Juliana? Have you got your visa in your back pocket? No, says Juliana. And she's very upset. She said they asked if she was working as a prostitute when she and Michael met. And Michael's very angry with this. He says it's insulting. And Michael says, if you're a prostitute, what does that make me? A pimp? No, Michael, a John. And Michael tells us, I've never had to pay for sex and I never will. Okay, Michael. Remember, ask Juliana about the car. And all the way along this sorry scene, Michael's trying to minimise things. Even when he talks to producers, he says, they asked her if she was an escort, but she's been modelling all over the world. Last week, Michael, you said she wants to be a model and you're going to try all you can to help her. So which is it? She's a model that's been all around the world, or she wants to be a model? Story straight now, Michael, story straight. And the Ebird has a couple of friends who are models in New York. 2 are from Ghana, West Africa, and a couple from London. And they all found it quite easy to get a visa to work as a model in the US. All you need to do is find a model agency to sponsor you. If you have tear out, i.e. magazine pages that you've appeared in, and proof of your modelling work, it's very easy to do. So something tells me that although she's beautiful, Juliana's not yet a model. And next time we catch up with Michael, he says they're doing a police check. And when I look at his face, he looks extremely worried. He said maybe she's done something before she knew me. How could I know? If she has, this might change things. And suddenly he goes from really knowing her very, very well to not being sure on camera as to if she's a criminal or not. Juliana tells us if she can't come to the States, she maybe wants to go to London. I'm sure she does. But then she says she knows Michael can't really leave his kids. And Michael says things are in the balance and that he'll have to rethink the whole relationship if there are things in her past which prevent her from coming to the States. And that's where we leave these two this week. And my thoughts on this couple haven't changed since last week. She's in it for the money and he's in it to have a fit model. He says he's never paid for sex. I say to you, Michael, you're paying for it as we speak. So guys, let me know what you think. Do you think Juliana has a dodgy background? Or do you just think she's a young girl with an amazing opportunity? And what do you think to Annie and Robert? I think Robert wants a live-in maid who's really fit and really grateful. I think Annie will be all those things for about 90 days. I make you one right. Let me know what you think in comments down below and I'll answer as many as I can. Thank you so much for listening, and please if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, don't miss out on my videos, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.